Thank you, Mrs. President, for this interview. This is a great opportunity for all Alliance of Italy to hear from your voice. Your replies to the question that was developed by the members of the multiple district with social medias, by emails, by the newsletter. So the work of the internal communication that I represent as a coordinator of the multiple district was work to assemble, the different issues to build in this way the interview with you. So if you want, we can begin our interview with the first question. So let's start with the theme of this and the coming years, the Mission 1.5 campaign. The goal to be achieved is absolutely important for our growth, but assumes even greater significance in the long term. Without the campaign, how many members could we have in 10 years?
Without Mission 1.5 giving us a target for which we are striving to grow our membership, we would repeat history. And for 30 years, our history has been a membership of 1.4 million. We have been caught in some degree of inertia. And so while we continue to add members, of course, each year we lose some members, and nothing has changed. And so Mission 1.5 comes with the impetus to make changes that will contribute to the growth of our volunteer base.
Well, the second question is always on the same issue, because staying on the topic of the membership, don't you think that in addition to growing with new members and clubs, it is necessary to work better and more intensely on retention? Reducing the number of members we lose annually could be a multiplier effect of Mission 1.5, couldn't it?
So Mission 1.5 has several components to it. It includes growing the members in each club that already is there. It includes retaining members through engaging them in meaningful service, orientation, and education and fellowship. So within existing clubs, we want to grow the membership and retain the membership. Then the third prong is to grow the number of clubs serving in our communities, because certainly our communities continue to grow. Our population continues to grow, and we need more clubs to serve in all those different needs and locations. And then the fourth aspect of Mission 1.5 is also about developing our leadership to lead that service that the volunteers will deliver. And so retention is a key component of Mission 1.5.
Well, we continue to stay on 1.5, but from a different point of view, because the Youth Counseling Change service works continuously with families that are not lions and young people who are not leos. Can the U.S. Counseling Change service help LCI in Mission 1.5? How can LCI help this service grow even more?
I think it's a great opportunity that is often overlooked. The opportunity for host families to become members of existing clubs is one that we often overlook. Similarly, the parents of young people who are going on youth exchange should certainly be interested in joining our existing clubs. But beyond that, the young people, the young adults who go on youth exchange or attend a youth camp certainly should become Leos or young lions. And I think there is a space here for two unique types of clubs as well. One is an alumni club, a club where young people who've gone on youth exchange stay together afterwards and form a new club every year. You can imagine the youth exchange alumni club of 2024 and then 2025 in every district or multiple district. And then in addition, for those who are former youth exchange and youth camp beneficiaries. I want to call them beneficiaries. They're participants, but they benefited. Should we reach out over the last 10 years and contact all those people who benefited from that experience? Surely they would become a specialty club, if only to support the future of youth exchange and youth camps.
Oh, this is true because, well, I testify in my district. We have created 4 years ago and a youth exchange club with families that guest, the host families of the guys that comes in our district for the camps. So this is a great experience because the group is very motivated with this activity of the Lions Club. Well, now change a little bit and let's address a question on humanitarian service theme. Lions are doing great work for Ukrainians, especially in the European constitutional area. However, many members don't understand why we operate in a limited manner in the Middle East scenario. Can you explain to our members why it is challenging to operate in the Middle East as well as in other areas with ongoing conflicts?
Certainly, and I've had that question before. When we operate in areas of humanitarian crisis, whether because of natural disaster or man-made disasters, one of the keys that we have to consider is the safety of our own volunteers. So first and foremost, we must consider the safety of our own volunteers. You've asked very specifically about the Middle East. And as you know, that is a very volatile area, and we cannot guarantee the safety of volunteers who might go there wishing to help or deliver supplies. However, we have Lions clubs that are in Israel. We have Lions clubs, Palestinian Lions clubs. In both cases, those volunteers are already there. And those volunteers have already each received LCIF grants to help them deliver humanitarian supplies as needed in their regions. So grants have gone to our Palestinian Lions for humanitarian relief. Grants have gone to Israeli Lions for humanitarian relief, because that is our role, to support humanitarian needs.
Thank you. Now let's turn to a question related to our international organization. In recent years, there has been significant development in terms of training, as well as the responsibilities officers must fulfill to document their work. Many members perceive this increased administrative commitment as a kind of bureaucratic excess that distract from the engagement in services. Can you better explain the reasons for these changes and how they positively reflect in our activities?
So I want to deal with this in two parts. You asked about training and you asked about the administrative reporting. We believe that training is one of our member benefits. Quite often, when Lions have already achieved a role or a position or a title, they perceive that they have arrived there because they are already competent in that area. And that's often the basis for their being elected or appointed to the position, is their competence. But learning the role that we've asked them to newly take on is another level of training and learning. And we would ask all of our Lions and Leos to embrace that opportunity to learn more and to be current with the best practices and the changes that are constantly evolving in our association. So we see training as a member benefit. Now, the accountability, the reporting, the administrative side. First and foremost, we ask Lions to report their service, to report their membership activities, their leadership trainings, so they can take pride in it and so that they can feel that success, and so that we can recognize them for their success. But in addition, The data in that reporting is critical, not only to Lions International or Lions Clubs International Foundation, but also to local lions if they use it correctly. That data allows us to leverage our position with other partners, with corporations, with foundations, with our partners at the United Nations, because we have hard data to demonstrate the impact of Lions and Leo's service. Now, local Lions in a district or multiple district can also use their local data when they are working with their local governments, local corporations, and you should use that information to leverage your position, to proudly say that we have done 4,000 activities on this global cause in this year, and to use that to position our Lions as the global leaders, because many people outside of our association don't understand that we are the global leader in service club humanitarian impact.
Oh, but this is also important because we are so big that we have also to work as a corporation. Yeah. But our benefit and not the income that we can produce. Our income is the person that we serve every year.
Right.
And this is a vision to be this way more total in the report of our activities. Well, your presidential team is changing the world, but change always begins with ourselves. I often follow your travel by air from one part of the world to another one. Beautiful, the different spots with your airplane. And your opinion, which nation do you believe is currently implementing change most decisively in interpreting modern Lionism, and why?
I don't like to talk nation by nation, because in many nations, my home nation of Canada, we have 8 different multiple districts. And Lions are often without national boundaries. In Africa, some of our multiple districts cover 4 nations. So I don't want to talk nation by nation, but I will talk in terms of different areas. Recently, I had the opportunity to be in Multiple District 306 in Sri Lanka. This is an area that has recently suffered a significant financial and economic trauma, as well as the pandemic and medical traumas. And they are experiencing, perhaps for the first time in decades, a significant food crisis. And they have responded. They have been adaptable and adept and facile at responding to these new needs. And so they have reached out and established opportunities with new partners. So they are partnering with the World Food Program to ensure that children in schools have nutritional meals, at least on the days they are in school. They have adapted their service activities to address the real needs in the community, not the needs that were there 10 years ago in an economically stable environment. So great adaptation by the Lions in that area because of external impact. At the same time, I could say that I've seen huge evolution of what it means to be a lion in service in areas such as Brazil or Egypt. Recently in Egypt, we opened up an entirely new partnership with Johnson & Johnson to provide vision screening in areas that were never reached before, and to address a gap in this medical service area by working with one of our corporate partners. And so that wasn't there before. Now it's already well underway. And so again, the Lions saw a need. They adapted quickly. They looked for the resources and the partners they needed. And they not only identified the problem, They identified a solution and put it into action. You know, we can look at non-lions all around the world, and they might fall into a group of people, some of whom can identify the problems but take no action. Whenever we travel, we see lions and Leos who are identifying a problem and taking action. It's not just about the leadership training or the knowledge that is gained. It is about putting real service into the communities. In Brazil, there was an area of need around supporting ophthalmological surgeries, and people were having trouble traveling to the main central hospitals. So the Lions adapted, and they are taking the service to the rural communities. This is a trend from Brazil to Uganda to China to many, many other countries where we have visited, that well-established world-class partnerships with Lions at the core are now able to turn and do outreach service to remote areas. That is one of our greatest adaptive abilities.
I completely agree with you also, because my club has received from LCIF a grant to cooperate with a club in Benin to create a maternity in the hospital. This is our third service in the same hospital, and maybe we have to inaugurate next year during your presidency of the LCIF.
Let's talk about that often and put it on my calendar.
Okay, thank you. Well, now we've come to the last question. Reading your biography, I discovered that you work as a teacher and psychologist was inspired by the need to help your Uncle Henry, who suffered from urine problems. This has absolutely fueled the spirit of service that led you to become our international leader. But above all, a source of inspiration for many Lions and serving others. Is there a specific service activity that involves you emotionally? And what advice would you like to give to someone who is approaching our association for the first time and wants to find their own emotion in serving others?
I think as Leos or Lions, all of us need to follow our passion. Whatever makes us passionate about being a lion, about being a servant leader, that's what we need to follow. And I really hope clubs are open to that not all members want to do vision work, some members want to do environmental work, and so on. And that there is room for diversity. I've been asked questions of this theme before, and what makes me motivated to do any more is not a type of service, it's the inclusivity of service. You mentioned Uncle Eddie, who was deaf. His experience was one of exclusion and isolation. He did not have equal access to the level of education we would want for any of our family members. So whether someone is being excluded or marginalized because of a sensory deficit, or because of their access to opportunities, or because of gender, that to me is an inequality that we have to address. So all of us can make sure that our service, be it for hunger, vision, education, wonderful services at a hospital in Benin, we need to make sure that there is equal access to those services, that people are not being disadvantaged. So that's what gets me motivated, is the defense and the implementation of human rights. And I don't need to say rights for girls, rights for women. All rights are human rights. And until we are inclusive and respect the diversity that we are, then how can we say we are serving a world in need? We need to serve a world in need in order to lift up and empower every individual who has the ability to contribute to society. That's what we need to do. So what makes me passionate is to do our service with excellence, to do our service without barriers, to make sure our clubs are open and inclusive, and our service is, and that our future will provide opportunities for every individual who wants to contribute to our society.
Thank you very much, Mrs. President, for this interview and for your time. I think that everybody will appreciate your voice and also your advice, because every alliance need to hear from the voice of the leaders is the speeches. And thank you very much.
Thank you so very much
I'm
for
very
your
happy that
time.
you're here in Italy.
Thank
you
you
again.
for your service. May I tell you one other aspect of service I witnessed
Oh yeah, sure.
a year ago in Paraguay, as a matter of fact. Not that the location matters, because I hope it is replicated around the world. And that is that a specialty club was formed of communicators, radio show hosts, TV hosts, owners of communication companies, editors of magazines, and their service as Lions, as a specialty media club, is to share the good news. In their day-to-day work, they often have to share the negative. And so as Lions, they come together to share the good news that Lions are doing and to publicize upcoming Lion services, events, opportunities for the public. And I wish that here, perhaps in Italy, you would have a member in every district who is part of a specialty club of communicators.
I have thought about something about very similar, because I've tried to have contact with the YouTubers.
Yes.
Because the YouTubers are young, they know very well the tools of the communication and internet, and they can create a group of a special kind of communication that can help also all the other clubs in the way that communicate all the things that they do. And so I have to try, but YouTubers, are not so easy, because sometimes they are so involved in their job and focus on their activities. But I think that can be a road that we can try to walk in through.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you very much again.
Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you.
Thank you.